So welcome to today's special Blue Bow presentation, How Parents and Guardians Can Protect Our Children. Human trafficking is the second largest criminal activity in the world, and the majority of trafficked individuals are recruited for sexual exploitation. In Illinois, 87% of trafficked individuals are female, and the average age of a person trafficked is only 14 years old. Today, Brenda Myers-Powell is here to talk to us about how we can protect our children. Perhaps more than anyone else, Brenda is highly qualified to speak to us about this matter. As a young girl in Chicago, at the age of 14, she was kidnapped by human traffickers, taken out of state for several months. She thought to herself that surely someone would have noticed something wasn't right. Surely someone would have made a telephone call to the authorities, but no one ever did. And when she returned home, sadly, she discovered that no one was even looking for her. The sex industry presented itself to her as a means of support, but it also opened her up to the incredible physical, mental, and emotional abuse which she experienced for 2 decades. Brenda's advocacy began in 1997, fighting for the victims of human trafficking. As a community organizer, she assists in organizing, training, and empowering victims to speak with legislators to bring changes to their communities. She has been featured in numerous print and broadcast media outlets. In addition, she's been a key researcher in several research projects related to violence and the exploitation of women. Brenda is an outstanding public speaker dealing with poverty, violence against women, and criminal justice reform. She is the co-founder and executive director of the Dreamcatcher Foundation, a published author, and an honorable member of the United States Advisory Council on Human Trafficking. In 2021, she was the recipient of the Bright Promises Foundation's Lifetime Achievement Award for being a lifelong advocate for Chicago's children and youth. So without any further interruption, it's my privilege to present to you Brenda Myers-Powell.
Thank you. You know, it's an honor to be here today. It's an honor to be anywhere helping service and stop the trafficking of youth and women and men. But before we start, I'd like to play a quick video for you. Constance.
I'm so happy to be able to tell the story. The first time I had a memory of me being a child was like 3 years old. One of my uncle's friends, his name was Woody. He molested me. Prostitution was right in front of the window. And I asked my grandmother, what were they doing? And she said, those women take their panties off and me and get them money. Wow. I'll probably do that when I grow up. You give up all your freedom and your rights. Someone to be nice to you, to love you, even when he ain't. Pimps get young girls. The control is unbelievable. I'm your everything, bitch. I'm your God. When I got to LA, we was in a crack epidemic. And I was trying to smoke myself to death. Abandoned houses, abandoned buildings. We used to make our home. That's how I lived. I got arrested and they would just pick me up and take me to jail. I was a naive little girl who was just looking for love in all the wrong places. I don't know why I fought so hard to stay alive. Because some days I wanted to die. And they ask you what hoes are made of. What is a prostitute made of? Pain. It was a hard way, but I survived. We came down out of the pits of hell and said to each other a long time ago that we were going to do something important to save lives, to inspire, to take young girls in women's hands when they were down in the hole and not let them slip further into the hole. Don't let nobody take your greatness. Fight for it. God loves you. You got to learn how to love yourself.
Thank you. That was from my book, Leaving Breezy Street, and that is going to be, which is going to be a movie and is an excerpt of my life. And I use it so because instead of going through the details of telling you my story, you can see a little bit of it in that piece right there. Hello, everybody. I am Brenda Myers-Powell. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, and I am so excited that you're here today to come to this a meeting to hear about human trafficking, or to hear my voice about human trafficking, because that's what you're going to hear today, my voice of hearing human trafficking, my experience about human trafficking, and the knowledge that I have received and picked up as far. I also sit on the U.S. Council for Human Trafficking in Washington, D.C. I'm very proud of that because I have been able myself, this is my second appointment on the U.S. Council on Human Trafficking, and we advise the federal government, and that's empowering. You know, we give the federal government advice, you know, and I like that kind of stuff, you know, because I'm bossy. Yay. So it gives me to feel empowering, you know, and I just spoke in front of the Senate, and you know where I was that day. My head was this big, right? I'm in the I'm a girl from the West Side, and I was in Washington, D.C., rubbing, you know, shoulders with all the important people in the Senate, people to check all the you know, the important people, and it was quite a day, one for the memoirs, and thank God for those days that I have. So I have a PowerPoint here. Just a moment. Can everybody see?
No.
Yes?
No, doesn't look like it.
I'm not sharing my screen?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Because I'm very technology challenged, but I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Am I sharing it now?
Not the PowerPoint.
I'm sharing it, Earl.
No, we're just seeing your Zoom screen.
Okay, then I'm sharing it. Okay. Okay.
We're-
Well, that's not what I want. I'm sorry, people, just a moment. We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay. There, can you guys see that?
Yes,
Okay, so sorry about that. All right, I'm speaking street codes. And I kind of put this in here. This is an old PowerPoint of mine, but it kind of fit this, it fit this presentation. Because what I'm going to take you through now is the unspoken street codes. I put this together a long time ago to explain people about the streets and how our children, because I looked up human trafficking on the internet just to to get an idea of what they were saying, and they said crazy stuff like in Asia or over another country. And I said, so when a person looks it up, and that's for some of you guys who may be new or don't, and I don't think there anyone in here who it really is, but you might be thinking that the real problem is in another country. The real problem is right here in our own, in our doorsteps, right here at home. And we know the oldest profession in the world's most misunderstood. But is it the world's oldest profession? It is not. The world's oldest profession is agriculture. You know what I'm saying? Somebody might wanted to eat something or pick a potato before they went and did the coochie. Okay, so that's another a thing about prostitution. It is not the oldest profession. The oldest profession is agriculture. I mean, I feel like prostitution is the oldest form of slavery. And you notice I use the word prostitution. I don't use sex work because I feel that is not appropriate to use, because I was in prostitution for 25 years. I never got any benefits. I didn't get no 401k. Never did I get I didn't get any vacation time. None of the things that you get out of work. So why would we try to minimize this? And this is one thing that many of us survivors have sat down and talked about, and definitely us survivor leaders in the U.S. Council, we have redesigned the words of human trafficking and written our own, because we feel that at this point, many people have designed words that have never lived this life. We've lived this life, and we should use the words that make us comfortable. And so therefore, we use words. We went through the words that made us comfortable and how we feel these things should happen, because who better than us should use the words. We live them, and we don't believe the word sex worker should be a viable word, because there's no things that pertain to work. The word prostitution, because that's what happens. Things it's not a nice job. It's not a nice thing to happen to anybody. So I use the word, prostitution. And you all know the average age of entry. And we say here in the trade, it was 16, and the average age of entry, young girls enter is the age of 12. For me, in my community, in marginalized communities, it's usually the age of 12, as early as 11 in families, because when you think of human trafficking, you think of someone else doing it. But a lot of times it happens in the family unit. It is done, families sometimes traffic their own. And it can be done for rent, it can be done for drugs, it can be done for many things. And it has happened right here in our communities, right here on our own soil, right here, maybe next to you, you know. You may see me on channel 2 soon talking about a 16-year-old girl that was given to DCFS. I mean, was given to a 24-year-old man as a foster child, a 16-year-old fostered by a 24-year-old man. Who would do that? And he was a criminal. You know, we make a lot of mistakes and we try to do the best we can, but we make a lot of mistakes around here. And it was a trafficking situation. We make a lot of mistakes out here in our world, and we have to do much better. Okay, and you see the stats right here if you're reading them. I don't want to get too deep into it because I got a whole lot more to say in these 15 minutes that I'm going to talk to you. But many participants are victims of child sexual assault, abandoned by their mothers, homelessness, some are foster care. But do you know that a lot of these children have 2 family homes, a great dad and a great mom? But okay, so you know it's situations that mom and dad are great, but you know you had them parties and everybody be drinking and having a good time, and it's music is popping and playing, and it's always that friend or that uncle that come through that ain't right and mess up everything. Those are the stories that I hear when I'm talking to these young girls. And those are the girls that don't know how to tell you because they have a great life. And they don't know how to tell you that Uncle so-and-so who's funny to everybody, who's great, who's a great friend, who y'all talk about as a good person or as a asset to the family, as a stellar guy. They don't know how to tell you that he's touching her, that he's molesting me, because everybody talks about him as he's a great person. Now, how can a child go up against that reputation and who that man is? We're going to talk about how that can happen, because that's hard to do. That was hard for me to do. That was hard for me to play up to my uncle's reputation of a great man that he was, the provider, the stellar, the rock, and the hero he was to me. Because before he started molesting me, he was my hero. So it's hard for children to talk about that. It's hard for a child to figure that out and not blame themselves, because for years I blamed myself. I thought there was something wrong with me. I was only 9 years old. How could there be something wrong with me? But I made it my fault. Wasn't it my fault? I didn't know anybody else that was happening to. So you see, you have to keep a close relationship with your child. You have to watch your baby closely, your son closely. Yes, you do. You can't assume that everybody's okay because they're okay with you, but they may not be okay to your child. Don't just assume everybody's normal. So we got 35 women report being coerced into the sex trade. Coerced was defined as provide. What do you think coerced is? Coerced. Can't nobody make me do nothing I don't want to do. There are so many ways of being coerced into something. Somebody can do a whole flip on you and spin you like a spinning top. Coerce means I take my time with you. I spin you like a top and make you think that you're the best thing since candy. And you'll believe me. Because I'm playing with your emotions and your feelings. And women, we cannot deny that we have those. And I see people call little girls stupid and you're dumb, and you know they're young. And that's the first thing that they agree with. They want to find somebody to love them. And these guys, these predators, these people know that. And this is how they fall into it. I got to go a little faster, I know, but I want you to understand how these guys get these girls. It's a need. It's a hole in there. It's a hole. It's a need. It's a want. It's young. And they know this. It's trying to find out what they like. Do they like Beyonce, or do they like Megan Thee Stallion? What do they want? A poodle or a Shih Tzu? Do they like sports cars or Cadillacs? Everything that they like with their little young lives, he's going to dazzle. He's going to bingle in front of their faces. And you already know that she's a teenager and you're the enemy, so that has nothing to do with the tea in China, because it's easy to make him turn against mommy and daddy. Because I'm already against them, I'm a teenager. And you've lost your child and you never thought you would, but you do. And that's why you got to have a strong hold on your child. We're going to talk about how to do that. I have a pimp study called Victim to Victimizer, where pimps talk about how they coerce your children and how they keep them. One of the things they said that was really a concerning to me, they said we eat and sleep ways to go in and to recruit young girls. If you don't take your daughter to the basketball game, I'll pick her up. If you don't pick your daughter up from the mall, I'll be right there with her. You know, I've had cases when I worked for the Cook County Sheriff's Office where there was a guy in Indiana who was at the River Oaks Mall picking up girls. You know, these guys don't care. They don't have any boundaries. That's why law enforcement has to be so harsh. You know, when people are coming that grimy, you gotta turn, you gotta be another couple. You gotta be, you gotta be strong. And these guys are very, 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 I was kidnapped at the age of 15, threw into a trunk of a car, taken to a place in Indiana, and brutally, I was brutalized by two pimps. And later they got another girl, and that's how I was able to get away, because they paid more attention to her than they did me. And I just found a guy that got me out of it, a truck driver who was willing to get me out of it. I just got lucky, but everybody don't get that lucky. These guys had me for over 4 or 5 months before I got away. And they brutalized me all the time. They abused me all the time. It was it was terrible. The relationship between pimps and prostitutes is like none other. It's a full control. It's like the power control wheel of domestic violence, and it's horrible. It's even deeper, because this is in domestic violence, it could be an unawareness in the power control, but in the pimp and control world, the power control wheel, it is a known power control. The victim is really aware of the power control, accepts this as okay and a lifestyle. So that is even worse, because they're falling into the power, into the control, and thinks it's okay. Because as long as he loves me, I'm okay with the power of control. But when he doesn't love me, I'm not right. I spent a lot of time trying to get back to the same feeling I could get from my pimp to the way he treated me in the beginning. So we know about this. I just wanted to give you a little view of this, because this is all about the game. The pretty woman syndrome, not at all. Nobody's gonna pick you up and take you away and to the sunset, and they're rich and famous. They're not gonna do that. They meet you as who you are, and you are who you are. One of the things we have now is the decriminalization law. I don't believe in full decriminalization. Because if we do that in our communities, we will be up a creek. Okay? Nobody understands the real issue of full decriminalization. It will affect our children. Because if they pull off full decriminalization in Illinois, it will affect marginalized communities where that will give people an opportunity to open up brothels wherever they want to. And trafficking will be allowed to happen in our communities. And you know they're not going to let them open them up in those nice communities. They're not going to open up in Naperville. They're not going to open it up in Evanston. They're going to open up in marginalized communities. And who will they sound appealing to? Women who have low incomes and don't have money. So it will definitely affect our brown and Black communities. And what we don't see where it's going to go for the future. They'll open up brothels in our communities, which will, instead of telling our children, go to school, get an education, we're telling our children, yeah, well, you can go and get a job in a brothel. And then after that happens, same thing happens other places where they have full decriminalization, is the appetite for younger children happens, because buyers are not just satisfied with adult women. They have an appetite for kids. And that's when the Black market steps in and starts trafficking children. And do we want our kids in our community trafficked like that? It's already happening, and it's hard to follow. If it's legal, how out of control will it be then? That's just something I wanted to lay on the table. If you hear about decriminalization, full decrim, and partial decrim, okay? It's a little FYI I wanted to give you guys today. I believe in partial decrim. Everybody has their own, way of thinking, but I don't think that we should turn the full faucet on with that. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is I used to have a guy named Homer King who was in my employment because he was recovering from the lifestyle. And one of the things in his lifestyle he was coming from was being a pimp. And his story was that when he was being brought up, because I knew him, he used to ride with my pimp and we knew each other. And I talked to him, he said, when I came up, he said, I used to watch my father beat my mother. And I used to say, instead of hating my father, he said, I started hating my mama. He said, I hated my mama because I didn't understand why she didn't leave. He said, she just stayed there and let him beat her. He said, but I began to hate her, not him. He said, so when I and then at 9 years old, he started a sexual relationship with his aunt, which gave him a very distorted image of what real relationships were about. So when he had his first girlfriend and he beat her up and she left him, he felt that she wasn't the girl for him because his mother never left his father. And his distortion of what relationships was by having a relationship with his aunt sent him into thinking that he could make money off of women. So he never had a chance. And he said he got in the streets and saw that he wasn't for the going to jail. So he decided to sell women. And I asked him, what did he think about the piece of his aunt? He said, well, she taught me how to please a woman. I said, no, honey, you're sexually abused. He had no concept of that because in the world of our community, in the marginalized community, in our community, a young boy having sex with an older woman was a sign of manhood, not sexual abuse. But if a girl was sex with a man, it should be considered sexual abuse, right? But for a boy, it was a sign of manhood. I said, no, you were sexually abused. And he had to think about that. He had to really think about that. So it's mixed messages in here in our community, you know, about what's happening to these young men and what they're able to accept as young men. The community's telling them it's a sign of manhood and it's actually sexual abuse. But what are their bodies telling them when their minds are not really developed to accept these type of relationships between themselves and maybe a grown woman, these sexual acts and these things that are happening to make them think and feel that this is what's supposed to be happening to them at this time and at these early ages of 9 and 10 years old. How are these boys developing to healthy, nurturing grown men if they're having these type of relationships? They can't.
Jamie, we talked about in our meeting.
Is somebody asking a question?
No.
Okay. All right. One of the things that pimps do to exploit women, and I want you to listen to this real good, listening on what they're saying. Okay. What is promised, how to find the lie, playing the game. You know what I'm saying? These are all helpful things when you're dealing with, when pimps are dealing with us, except writing a letter, they listen to us to see how they can get into our heads. Now we can do the same thing when we're listening to our children. Listen, I do it to my son. I have to listen to him. All right, what he is saying. All right. I have to play the game with him sometime. And I asked him, I said, so, hey, what's going on with you? And I don't say it in an accusing way. You know, I'm seeing what's happening, but you know, like what's happening? I said, what's happening with you and your girl? You know, because this girl had already told me that he was not being nice, right? I said, what's happening with you and the girl? What happened? And he said, nothing happened. I said, okay. I said, well, she didn't say that. I said, but you know, she said something else happened. I said, what did she do to you? He said, oh yeah, she did this to me and she did that to me. I said, and then you did this to her. He said, yeah. I said, see, I told you did something to her. You got to play with people's, you know, one thing I know about my kid is I'm smarter than him. I've been a kid. You know what I'm saying? You know the old saying, I'm too old of a cat to be had by a kitten. And if I think about it, those 5 protective factors that I use in the group when I'm doing children's home and aid have helped me a lot. I have used them with my human trafficking girls because I work with girls out of the jail. And a lot of the things that I have used from the children's home and aid, the protective factors, the domestic violence things that I have used have helped me through the years with the other things that I have put together to help with women who have been broken, recover relationships back with their children, their family members, and sometimes their spouses, because what we talk about is how to heal and how to make things better. See, because in most cases, people try to learn you how to get back on your feet and how to be a hardworking person and to service others. But no one tells you how to take care or teach you self-care. And self-care is as important as taking care of others, because we become caretakers and we give everything and don't get anything back. And then we find ourselves in a dilemma of falling apart. And we have nothing left for ourselves. So as people helping the community, we got to teach self-care in the part when we're teaching people how to take care of themselves, how to take care of others, and take care of the community. Because if we don't do that, we're going to burn out people, and people are not going to have it in them. We live in a stressful time. Pandemic brought along a new lifestyle for everybody. Human trafficking, domestic violence, violence on the street, violence against people, everything. And one thing that we have is a lot of differences. I'm noticing the difference in human trafficking. A lot of women got in relationships with guys during the pandemic, and they came into their homes and they were abusive against them. Next thing I know, women were out on the street with children in their cars, trying to prostitute to get money for a hotel because they had to run away from their abusers. These things were happening. Children were sleeping in cars. There are a lot of things out there that are different. So the domestic violence became domestic violence / prostitution, because they didn't know how to handle what was going on in their lives. So it was a lot of different lifestyles. And a lot of people became up against, they got put up against the wall. They lost a lot of deaths happened. People became grieving. They were grieving, and they took to the streets, you know. And we had a lot of mental health out there. It was hard. So we had a lot of kids out there that were missing parents who had turned to the streets for survival. Streets were hot and they are different, and they got violence in them. You know, I saw kids that were out there robbing prostitutes. They were robbing them because they needed money, but they were youngsters. They were youngsters. So things had changed a lot. Our communities are in a total hot mess. And so this human trafficking community is really in a mess. And how do we protect our children? Well, one of the things that you need to do is technology. Technology is one of our biggest enemies. The computers, the chat lines, all of those things that you think maybe are not that bad are the most harmful pieces of I guess I would say forces where your child can be picked up or access to technology. Right now, chat lines are big, and Instagram is big, and a lot just technology. Period. Your child is reachable for a stranger to access them online, and not only for trafficking, but just for anything. It's a meet and greet for disaster. And if you're not if you're not on those social media, if you're not monitoring your child's social media, you should be. You should just not, letting them loose on social media is not a good idea. You've got to have some control on there, because it is like letting strangers into your house, basically, on your computer and on your phones. It is the worst place for that. So I advise you, I beg you to get type of social media. I mean, some type of control over your child's devices, because it's serious, okay? And you know, just relatives and how you deal with your family and predators that are amongst you. You've got to be cautious of the people that you hang around. Ask your child questions when you go places and train them to know when someone has touched them, to let you know about it, or someone makes them feel uncomfortable. They need to let you know about it. Get a hey, and where are my protective factors? Can I get my protective factors up? Because I would like to show them and speak while I show them while I'm talking, because all of this I've kind of really done. Be strong and flexible. You know, we in a world now where we talk a lot about, when I was a child, I do it too. You would be blah, 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 blah. Well, things ain't the same when I was a child. They're different now. And I have to talk to my son. I have an adopted son. I have to talk to him on the level where he at right now, on the level where things are. I got to find out what's going on in his world so I can relate to him. Because sometimes I go to him and say some lame stuff, and he be like, oh, Mom. And he be looking up in his eyeballs and stuff, and I be wanting to knock him out of the, you know, knock him into the next week. I try to find ways we can relate, you know what I mean? I'm not his friend, but I don't bore him with them stories about, you know, when I was a kid. You know, if I want to tell him the story, I will, but I'm not going to try to treat him in the same manner it was when I was. I'm always trying to find new ways to be a parent. Kids did not come with direction on a bottle. Okay, you know your kid better than anybody else, at least you should. And you find new and better ways to challenge your kid every day and do the best that you can. And can't nobody tell you. And it shouldn't have to come with you beating. You want to beat the brakes off of them, but it's not going to do nothing. You have to meet them here, you know. And that's what I said. I found that I'm way sharper than he is. And no is a whole sentence. It ain't got nothing to go with it. No. You know, let's understand that, but be flexible sometimes. And flexible scares me because I want to stand on it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes. Don't be just, you know, like my daughter Ernestine, she's not flexible. No, I'm just playing. Develop friendships with others for support. Now that's hard in this world, but you can. Responsible people. I just said it's hard to trust somebody, didn't I? But you gotta get a village. It took listen, I just got raised 26 years ago. I celebrated 26 years out of the lifestyle. It took a village to raise me. It take a village to raise a kid. You gotta build you a village of good people. You gotta, and don't be lazy to seek out a village. It's when you don't have a village, it's your fault. Because you didn't seek one out for your child, for you. If you feel alone and what you're doing is you don't have a village, and it's not easy to seek out a village, but you can do it. Seek out you some people that can take that baby off, that take that child, teenager, whatever it is off your hand. Have a backup. Have somebody that tennis ball that you can flip flop with. Create you a village. It's not okay. And quit treating kids like they little people, but they are not adults. Kids out here raising themselves. While you at work because you got 2 jobs and you buying them everything, $10 and everything like that. Hey. They need attention. Keep learning, parenting knowledge and skills. You don't know everything. And the way your mom and them did it was cool, if it was cool with you, but you still can learn more things. It's always out there something to learn. and protective factors for the world today, and how to protect your child from human trafficking, how to protect your child from predators on the computer, how to protect your child from violence and the things that are going on. I never thought that I would have to drive and look out for carjackers. Did you? I never thought that I would have to look out for these things. Prepare your child to talk to people in certain ways. Now, we used to say, don't talk to strangers, but don't talk to, hey, if anybody have a conversation with you that's inappropriate, you back up from it and you come and tell me, okay? Not just strangers, but anybody, baby. Don't answer any ads. Don't go for no photo shoots. Nobody can make you a star. Any of that happens, come to mama. You know, if it sounds too good, don't go for it. Seek help in times of need. Don't ever be too proud to think that, or too afraid that you made a mistake. If you made a mistake, it was a mistake. Get help. Get help. I'll call for help in a minute. I will call for help in a minute, and I'm a professional. I do a lot of things, but I don't go in without assistance. If I need assistance from the police department, I will get it. There are a lot of specialized people out here that you can get help from. Do not be a hero. You understand me? I have a number. There is an 800 number on there's 800 hotline number for human trafficking. We have an 800 number. There's an 800 Chicago's police department will come at your aid, but don't be a hero. Okay, if you see something, try to get as much information written down and documented, license plates and all that you need. Don't be a hero. Try to write down as much information as you can, get as much description as you can, location and everything that you can. Don't be a hero. Okay? Because we're going to get them. Hopefully we'll get them, but we don't want to lose you in the process of trying to get somebody else. Because this is a dangerous game out here. And you can get yourself hurt. Seek out help in a time of needs. Help your child interact and communicate well. That is not easy. We say it, but you got to start that from you got to start that as a kid. And then they might grow up and stop communicating. We know that. Okay. In order for your child to communicate well, you got to take their iPhone, their game, all social, all communication, turn out the electricity, and I don't know, sit them outside on the porch and then they'll listen. Because it isn't hard to make kids listen today to get their attention, and then they spaz out if they don't have a phone in their hands. Try to communicate with your child and keep an open communication with them. Check in with your child on a regular basis, like don't in a way that's communicating where they tell you about what's up in their life or what's happening in their life, you know, and hear what they're not saying, not so much as what they're saying, so that you can hear if there's an issue that they are maybe not seeing that they want to talk to you about. You know, sometimes my kids will come to me and say, I'm good, mama, I'm all right, but you can tell in that is really not there. You know what I mean? And if you feel something is going on and something is not right, then you need to get to the bottom of it. You know, these protective qualities and framework are all about relationships, because programs don't help people, relationships do. And crisis does not make an appointment. And one thing that you can be sure of, when that crisis hits your door, you got to be ready for it. And you cannot have two and three jobs and talk about, I got a relationship with my child and they doing what I say do, because you don't know what they doing. You got to shut some time down and get with that kid and understand what is going on in their lives. Okay? And if you don't know that, somebody else will know that. That's what I can tell you. Because that's their job, is to get in your kid's head and take them, brainwash them, coerce them, use them to do what they want them to do, because they're young and they are vulnerable. And it works. Illinois is, I think to 23rd state for human trafficking, but it has 2 airports, convention centers, tourism, and it's got a high trafficking rate. We've got to be aware of what's going on in our own communities. I'm going to leave the floor open for questions now. I hope that you got you got a lot of what I said and insight on things, because I really wanted to keep this toward the community and what we are doing and what we need to do.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. Powerful stuff. You spoke from experience and you spoke from the heart, and a lot of great insights. We'll have time for a question or two, but if somebody has to leave, we do have an exit survey. If I could ask Constance to drop that into the chat. If you have to go, would you please take a few moments? I think we just have 3 or 4 questions. And then we have some resources from Parents Care and Share and Advancing Fathers. If you'd like to get us to send you some information about resources, you could check that off on the survey. Brenda does a Parents Care and Share group in Chicago called Prostitutes Anonymous for the past 15 years. Ernestine, you want to open it up for a question or two? We can go past 11 o'clock if anybody wants to stay and you have time to ask Brenda a question. But go ahead, Ernestine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ernestine Brown. I am Regional Coordinator for Parents Care and Share. I'm here to take any questions you may have regarding this wonderful speech. So I do have a question just to get things going. So Ms. Brenda Myers-Powell, what do you think that parents can do if they suspect? You know, what are signs that parents can look for? What are signs that parents can look for if they may suspect there's something going on, you know, regarding trafficking, whether it's online or that it may be suspect relationship they have or something? Because sometimes I know it's not always about, it's not going to be right in front of your face. It could be a friend telling them about something. What can they do to, like, what signs can they look for? What should they be looking for to look for those clues?
You know, you can look for signs of, you know, basically presence and things that you're not buying them. You know what I'm saying? Are they getting any kind of extra attention that way? You know what I mean? Are they staying out later than they should? What kind of people are they hanging, you know, are they hanging around with a different type of looking crowd? Has she dumped her other friends? You know what I'm saying? And is she spending a lot of time with somebody that you don't really know, but you hear her, you know, hanging out with this some person and you ain't even met him yet. You know what I mean? But you hear his name around, you know, and also she might show up with a little trinket or something, you know, a little cheap trinket and stuff like that. But you just got a suspicion. Now we all have our parents and have that tuition and everything. And 9 out of 10, that tuition is right. You know what I mean? that they're either hanging around with something that is older, the type of person that you don't want them to, and something like that. And we always get that tuition. I had it with my daughter one time, and this guy was a 27-year-old guy, and I had went to White Castle, you know, and followed her up there, you know, and she was meeting a 27-year-old guy, and he seen me, and he drove off, you know what I mean? But it was my tuition, and I was right. But you can, you know, they show up with the little trinkets or stuff that you didn't buy them and everything. And if you monitor your kid and say, you know, what's that? I didn't buy that. Wait a minute, you know, it's little things like that, and trying to be very, very shady with, you know, their calls and secretive and stuff and hanging up and everything like that. Little things like that.
Okay, I have a question from Lisa Miles, and she's asking, are there opportunities to have young girls participate in sessions as a preventive measure?
Absolutely. We have a preventive group at the Dreamcatcher Foundation. We've had them for 15 years. We've always had prevention groups, and they our prevention groups graduate, and we help them with going to college and everything like that. So we have prevention groups with the Dreamcatcher Foundation all the time. And also, yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat other than people thanking you for your story and giving your time to help others. So
I would like everyone to know that, you know, thank you, as co-founder and executive director of the Dreamcatcher Foundation for 15 years, it has been my absolute joy. I am transitioning to a newer organization. I'm starting a new organization called Ernestine's Daughter. It has been my dream to start an organization about healing women in human trafficking, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm going into healing and retreat because I just want to do the healing of young ladies. We don't do that enough in our and I'll still be doing outreach, I'll still be involved with outreach in the community, but I want to do the healing part of human trafficking. And I just want to let you know that all the human trafficking services of outreach and getting women services will happen, but I'll be doing adding the healing and retreat to this organization, and it'll be named Ernestine's Daughter because I am Ernestine's daughter.
Do you want to put the slide up about how people can get your Brenda's book, Leaving Breezy Street?
Yes, please. Oh, read my book is it's wonderful. And it's an Audible as well. And the woman that did the Audible on it she won an award for that. So there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brenda Myers-Powell. This was a great session, inspiring, and we learned so much. Please, everyone.
It was, Earl. Thank you. Can I thank everybody who tuned in? Thank you. And I hope I was insightful and learning. So, you know, human trafficking is a lot to talk about in a short time. And I hope that I gave everybody something to take away. I'm just hoping that I did. And I see you out there, Corey. I was just and I was just hoping that everybody out there got a little something out of it, because what I gave was a brief, you know, overview, but it just takes a little longer to talk about the intricacies of human trafficking in our community. But it is very it's a big thing, and we need to know that, okay? And we need to kind of collaborate with each other as agencies, as organizations, and try to fight it, you know, because hopefully our next mayor, Johnson, will try to put some services out there that are specialized services for human trafficking, because nobody else has. And I thank you for your time.
And we'll keep the meeting open. If you want to complete the exit survey, we'd really appreciate that. But then you're free to go. Thank you so much for attending today.
you.